That brings us to item number 9, approval of the minutes for the September 14 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Ms. Hutchinson.
I move that we approve the minutes of the September 14th, 2020 board meeting.
Second. Mr. Gant. Any questions? As many as favor the motion will raise their hand. And that's unanimous. That brings us to item number 10, public participation. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and the decorum provided in board policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with board policy BEDH. Dr. Harris is keeping time for us. You'll see him right here, and you will hear the timer. I'm asking you to come to the microphone that is freestanding, not the microphone at the podium. And to continue the theme of being student-focused, we have 2 students that have signed up tonight, and I'm just going to exercise the chair's privilege and move them to the front of the line. So if Sarah Sawyer, if you're in the room, if you'll come to the microphone here. And then after Sarah is Anna Grace Minch. This microphone, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Sarah Ann, and I'm an 8th grader at Chapin Middle School. I think we should go back 5 days a week, because on Wednesdays, the Wi-Fi, whenever I'm trying to do Google Meets, I'll get kicked out and I'll lose connection, so I won't be able to hear the instructions of some of the assignments. Also, when going to school only 2 days a week, you're not learning as much as if you were going the full 5 days a week. It's especially hard, too, for the younger kids to sit in front of the computer all day and listen to their teachers talk. I have a brother in 4th grade, and he has trouble just listening to his teacher talk all day while staring at the screen. And then also, whenever I'm not doing the Google Meet, I'm getting done before noon every day, so it's just proving we're not getting as much work as if we were in school the full 5 days.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anna Grace Minch.
Hi, I'm Anna Grace Mensch, and I'm a senior at Dutch Fork High School. And I just want to say that I'm so thankful for Dr. Mellon and all she's been doing for us. And I'm appreciated that she puts my safety first before just throwing us into the deep end. In regards to virtual Wednesdays, I actually feel that they are not terrible. They give me the same amount of information I'd be getting in school because of my amazing teachers. I think that that's not an experience for everyone. It's my personal experience, but to call it terrible would definitely be an overstatement. I'm just thankful that I have a superintendent like Dr. Mellon who helps put my safety first before anything else. And we also have to consider our teachers. I think that it's not fair to just completely ignore their needs as well and put the students first. I think it's a community in District 5, and we need to consider everyone's needs. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think if we could mute the microphone at the podium, that could be an issue. We thank our students for their civic engagement, and we appreciate you being here tonight, and you certainly have led the way for us. Thank you both. I'm going to call names in the order that I received them. And I'm going to call your name, and then I'll call kind of the person that's on deck. So I'm not asking you to come stand at the microphone right behind, but this way at least you know you're next in the queue. The next speaker is Dr. Jim Minch, and then following Dr. Minch will be Hugh Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you. So proud of my daughter to stand up in front of a crowd like this. I think that's great. I'm Dr. Jim Mensch. I'm a District 5 resident for a long, long time. SIC Chair for Dutch Fork High School, Dr. Gary. I'm going to spend my 2 minutes or so thanking Dr. Melton. The things you've had to put up with over the past few months, it sometimes is sad, and it just makes me, my heart breaks for the way that some of these processes have gone, and I'm just so thankful for you, your leadership. You look out for everyone, not just 20 teachers here, or my student here, or this student there, 20,000 plus people in this school district, 17,000 students, 23 schools, teachers, custodial workers, cafeteria. Dr. Melton over and over talked about them. And any reasonable person that listened to that presentation would say, that's wonderful. She's keeping everything in mind. She's looking at CDC guidelines. She's looking at all of the metrics. She's taking everything into consideration. Now, there's going to be people that are going to complain. They want face-to-face, regardless, right away. And that's okay. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm thankful that we have a leader that is not some outside person that's just come in. She's a respected teacher in this district, a respected principal in this district, a respected administrator, and now an unbelievable superintendent. She's been around. Get a pulse for what the people think about Dr. Melton in this district, because you'll get a sense that it's wonderful. And we need to be careful about all these changes we want to make. We are the best school district in the state. The best. You know what that means? That means no one does it better than us. That doesn't happen by accident. Every metric that you could evaluate a district on, we are number one. SAT scores, students, Teacher of the Year, Palmetto's finest. I'm standing in Palmetto's finest school. Chapin was a few years ago. The number of accolades that our teachers, our administrators, our superintendents, all of them get, we are the best. There's no way to go but down. So we need to be careful. I understand that this is a polarizing issue. It has us divided, and that's what makes me sad, because I'm just glad that we can take into consideration everyone, 20,000 plus people. And I'm sitting in Dr. Gary's office today. Is that time?
That's time.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh Ryan and then Debbie Goodman. Hugh Ryan and then Debbie Goodman.
Again, I'm Hugh Ryan. I've spoken in the last couple of meetings. I 100% agree data should drive this, but what bothers me is I feel like we're using the DHEC data, how it fits our narrative. I'm a lawyer. I spent this weekend doing nerdy things, I guess. I would encourage everyone in the online audience, go look at the districts in this state that are doing face-to-face learning. If you trust the DHEC numbers, sometimes then it says the number of cases in these face-to-face districts is extremely low. I didn't have time to do every one of them in detail. I dug deeply into Anderson County. I would encourage y'all maybe take a field trip to Anderson County. Go to Anderson School District 5, which is T.L. Hanna, those schools. Now, first of all, it's apples to apples, because in Anderson County, there's 258,000 cases per 100,000. In Lexington, it's 246 per 100,000. This is as of September 26. So it's more in Anderson County. In Richland County, it's 277 per 100,000. So that's a little more than Anderson. But I heard today that Richland, too, is stripping out USC's number because it's inflating in Richland County. So Anderson is a comparable situation. In Anderson District 5, they have 5-day in-person and a virtual model. Again, no one's saying we shouldn't have a virtual model. They have 13,277 students, which is a pretty good-sized district. And last week, they reported 4 cases. 4. So everyone online, go look at the data. Go look at the counties that are in person and look at it for yourself and make your own determination. Trust your own analysis of the data. So again, and there's never going to be zero risk. Never. I understand quarantine's not a good thing. My son's been quarantined 24 days. Furman football player. He got quarantined for 14 days when he first got back to Furman for football. Then he got COVID, but Furman's adapting. They're adapting, and the education's being maintained. So the kids, they're not sitting around doing nothing. They're getting together, doing things. I mean, they're in dance. My daughter played soccer this weekend with South Carolina United. And our kids just played a football game the other night, for God's sakes. 22 boys rushing all over each other, sweating all over each other. Do you think Southern Strut doesn't care about their dance instructors? Do you think that South Carolina United don't care about their soccer coaches? Do you think Tom Knotts doesn't care about his football players? Of course they do. So it's just, it's frustrating because the narrative's changed to fit your agenda, or whoever's agenda it is. So again, but thank you for getting him back into sports. Like I said a million times, I can't imagine my son having to lose those state title opportunities, playing in the Shrine Bowl for football. That built him to a good young man. Chapin last year, they would have won the state title in baseball, no doubt about it. And those kids lost that opportunity. There's 756,000 students in South Carolina, 756,000. As of September 24th, there was 501 cases. That is 0.066%. That is no agenda talking, that is numbers talking, okay? So we ought to make sacrifices. We're Americans, we're the home of the brave. Let's be brave. Let's go forward with this situation. If we got to back up and modify things, we will. But we can do this. We're way better than Anderson 5, I promise you.
Debbie Goodman, and then Brian Bildrow. Debbie Goodman, then Brian Bildrow.
Hello, I'm Debbie Goodman, and I'm a retired teacher from this district. And I'm just here to really support the board and Dr. Melton. I also would just like to just ask those that are lashing out and putting out these personal attacks against Dr. Melton and board members to please just stop the personal attacks. Let's all be positive. We are not all going to agree. You're not going to, I think Dr. Melton has just come up with the best plan possible. It's obvious that she and her staff has come up with the best plan that she thinks is possible. They have taken everything in consideration possible. The safety of everyone and what's best for these children. And that's what the board members always do. We always take into consideration, every single one of you take into consideration what's best for these children. That's why you're on this board. So everybody, please remember that. Let's don't take personal attacks on anybody, not one person. Every one of you, every one of these people is somebody's mother, father, brother, sister, grandmother, grandfather, whatever. Think about if that were your mother, brother, father, sister, whatever, if someone attacked them personally like that. Think about that. Don't attack anybody personally. Say what's positive about the person that, in campaigns or whatever. Say something positive about the person that you want. Don't say negative or something about other people. Say the positive. And say, it's okay to disagree. It's fine. We're not all going to agree. But just think about the fact that they've spent many hours, and if Dr. Melton doesn't answer your email right away, think of the hundreds of emails she gets. And you see what all she's done? Think of all that other time. She doesn't have all that time. All these things time she's put into this, and all these board members. Just think about that. And these teachers, to be honest, I'm glad I'm retired right now and I don't have to worry about it. I assure you of that. So I am very thankful of that. These teachers, my hats go off to them, and thank you for all that you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Brian Bildrow, and then David Clifton. Brian, and then David Clifton. Will you go to the other microphone? It's just that we can only have one of them
Can the
on.
time man give me a start over? Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
And it is Dr. Melton.
Yes, Dr. Melton, I'm so sorry. And thank you for the correction there. This isn't staying up. Dr. Melton, it's obvious what you did over the past 2 weeks. It was impressive. And as a parent, I'm thanking you publicly. Also want to say thank you to the teachers and the principals that are here, because they're the reason why this is the #1 school district in our state, like the gentleman talked about. And as I was doing research on school boards, because a few weeks ago I really didn't have any understanding who was on the school board, and like most people, didn't really even care. But the decisions that are being made by the school board has now put the spotlight on you guys. So everybody wants to know who you are and why are you doing what you're doing. And I looked at the state of Florida, and there's a major reason why they're getting ready to pass a law for term limits. 8 years, and you're done. And there's a really good reason why they're doing that. All the reasons apply to this same school board. There's no difference in Florida. I encourage you to go look at why people say you got to go in 8 years. So then I look at, what is our school board doing? And I look at the people that are really running the show. And the 3 people, you two and you guys really don't even exist. I mean, you know that. We all know that. Come on. And the other 4 are basically run by 2 people. Everybody knows this. This is public knowledge. So 2 people control our entire school board, and that's the truth. One's been on 20 years, one's been on 18 years. Guys, it's time for a change. It really is time for a change. And I hope that the voters on November 3rd send that message that we need new people with energy, enthusiasm, and passion to represent our constituents in this district. And I hope today on the camera sees me. I hope people are watching, because that's really who I'm talking to. Because when you understand that this board controls $240 million a year, you understand that, is it really about the children? Or is it about power and control and money? And I hope it's not, but they're just things that make you go, So I put it out there. I hope the people see it. They make their decision. I know I've made mine.
David Clifton, and then Chad Stefanik, and I apologize if I mess up names. David Clifton, and then Chad Stefanik.
Mr. Harris, before you start this timer, I want every board member
please
to look me in the face.
Your timer's started.
Well, that's sad, because I want everybody to put down their cell phones like you require my kid and the teachers to do in the classroom, and I want you to look at me. I will not be speaking on reentry. I don't know why y'all had so many questions, because you've given it to this poor woman to make by herself, because you're not qualified. So I'm really confused on that. So I know the board's divided, and I'll be honest, it's gotten away with a lot of unethical and non-transparent and have abused power because you're complacent. Once COVID hit and decisions started being made, it was glaring to parents, and it promoted us with kids to get involved in the school board, and we began to dig. And we're digging, and we are going to continue to dig, because there's no end to the corruption. And I will say that because with me, we have plenty. South Carolina Code of Ethics violations with campaign dollars, contract abuse between board members and companies, budget mishandling involving constructions and renovations. Your manipulation for every taxpayer has requested information they have been denied or been directed another way. I will promise you, even with all your little secret relationships, I will ensure this community, I personally will find out what is going on with this board, and I will bring it to an end for your personal gain. I would like to go talk to somebody now, because I really don't think you care. So with that being said, I'll take my information and go talk to somebody who gives a damn.
Chad, and then Jennifer Weed.
So I don't have the text message or the cell phone numbers of any of the board members, so I don't get to paint a private picture like some people do. But let me paint a picture with data instead of speculating. Let's talk about Brown University's research that shows that delivery method has 0 impact on COVID-19 spread. I don't know if you got that text message or not. Let's talk about Harvard biologists and epidemiologists, professors of medicine who say it is critical that students are back in school. You can look at COVID-19projection.com. It is, by data scientists, the leading predictor of COVID-19 projections. It's machine learned. They predict 0 second spikes. It's down to the state level. You could look at South Carolina. You know where they project us to go? Down. R-naughts, hospitalizations, positive rates, all machine learned. Not speculation, not what media is consumed, that's it. I know that safety is at the preeminence of everybody's mind. Yeah? Everybody can use that, but unfortunately it becomes a defense and a shield to criticism because you get to implement any policy that you choose at the detriment of students. Let's look at like the logic of half day for schools, virtual Wednesdays. It's too much for students. There's 2.5 days right now. If 2.5 days are fine, why would half day on Wednesday even be a drop in the bucket to them? And yet that's another half day of learning they're not going to get. So we're going to go with the 4-day, which that's great, but we still don't address the issue of what are all those dual income families going to do for the Wednesdays now. Still got to deal with them. Single parents. I haven't heard anybody mention single parents today. It's pretty awesome. Maybe we're a little ethnocentric in the way that we adopt this or address this problem. But the pictures that are being painted by people that we can't see or that won't come and publicly address, I think it's a little disingenuous because you can fearmonger all day long, but I can show you, and if you get, I'll just start emailing you. I can show you peer-reviewed research after peer-reviewed research that shows that kids do not transfer this stuff. It is not like a respiratory illness that we've ever seen before that typically affect the old and the young. They cannot produce respiratory competent virus strains. And we use that though of like, what if they get it? Teachers, for the most part, you can look at it. Brown University study shows you that teachers have a lower incident rate of COVID than the average public. Why? Because they have immune systems that could probably eat a raw sewer rat and not have a problem because they've been coughed down by kids for years. Are there vulnerable teachers? 100%, and we should address them. But there's a lot of data in the picture you're not getting painted.
Jennifer Weed.
I was here about 2 weeks ago over at Irma. I asked if you were listening. It sounds like you are, to a certain extent. We have kids that are in schools every day. We're dealing with the virtual. I can't understand, I'm glad for a 4-day. I want a 5-day. So we're making some progress, but we're not there. Because I can't understand how half a day on Wednesdays virtual is still doing anything for my kids. I can't understand the dates, the expectation that we need an additional 2 weeks to bring some grades back. And then 3 weeks from there to bring more grades back. I can't understand how you can leave schools empty and, again, what would be the difference with bringing kids back? But I am glad that you are listening. Again, we're just feeling the frustration dealing with virtual. I know the teachers are feeling the frustration because when things don't go accordingly, when we're dealing with technical difficulties constantly, we're dealing with tears from students, from teachers, from parents. It's just not the ideal environment. And I asked 2 weeks ago for you guys to keep the October 8th for everybody. Now, again, I'm advocating for my neighbors as well. My neighbors have older kids than I do. But I don't see why their older kids should be stuck virtual as well for longer than what my kids who are in kindergarten and 5th grade. It doesn't make sense to me. But I do hope that you listen to that, and I am glad that you are listening to us.
Thank you. Chase Sternenberg and Stacy Price.
Let me put my glasses. An article from Lauren Thomas of News 19 on July 23rd, quote, "I felt confident that we could offer a 5-day on-site traditional model," said Dr. Melton. She goes on to say, "If you monitor data like we have, things have changed. The burning question I have is, what exactly changed and who is this we? Since the school board abdicated the duties for which it was elected for and laid the burden of reopening schools solely at the feet of Dr. Melton, then is it reasonable to infer that you are all not included in this collective we? Informed voters see this passing of responsibility for exactly what it is, a lack of courage in an election year at a time when courage was needed most. By the way, what data is being monitored by this mysterious we? As a preeminent employer of experts on public health crises, the CDC is the nation's largest treasure trove of scientific, fact-driven data from which to draw upon regarding COVID-19. I'd like to believe that the data this mysterious we were allegedly monitoring was sourced and acted upon based off of the findings of the CDC. This, however, does not appear to be the case because children from the very beginning of this pandemic have always been the most resilient and prolific survivor group, not just in this country or the continent, but on the planet. With the help of the CDC, I'll prove it. But before I go any further, let the record state that I am no doctor. I'm not offering medical advice, nor am I suggesting that I am in any way more intelligent than anyone in this room. I do my own research and am incapable of thinking what someone else tells me I should. COVID-19 survival rates for ages 0 to 19, 99.997%. With 56 million school-age children in the U.S., there have only been 277,285 confirmed cases since March, of which only 1.2% were hospitalized, 0.1% required ICU admission, and 0.01% sadly have died. Some people believe that the mandates and such are political. With data and numbers like these, how can anyone with certainty and a straight face argue that this is not the case? What do the children that go to private school 5 days face-to-face say to their public school friends that don't get the same opportunities? What do you think they're going through mentally? Do you think any of this makes sense to them? My oldest daughter, a freshman varsity cheerleader at Chapin, has practiced 7 days a week, but can only attend school in person for 2. Really. That same daughter has an AP class that has proven to be very challenging when coupled with her cheer practice schedule. She could really use that extra, more than 2 days to adequately learn the subject matter. Interestingly, though, from what I understand, one of the board members' daughters actually teaches AP classes at the very same school. Somehow, some way, she has successfully integrated 2 of her AP classes into 1 and are allowed to meet 4 days a week. How's my daughter's AP class less important? Guess I just don't know the right people in the right places. This sham, and that's exactly what all of this is, needs to be over, and not a single day past October 8th is acceptable. Thank you.
Stacy Price, Jennifer Zingmark.
Hi. I had a completely different plan to come up here and talk about, start listening to us. We want 5 days back face-to-face, so I appreciate. I have a 7-year-old, and I work from home, thankfully, but I feel for everybody out there who does not work from home and has to rely on someone else to help teach their kid. Today, I spent 30 minutes helping the computer lab teacher get the website up because her mic stopped working on her computer. So I wanted to say that thank you for listening to us. Sorry, I don't do public speaking a lot. But I want to say thank you to all the teachers. They're working twice as hard for making half the difference with very little pay. So thank you, teachers, all of you. I kind of concur with what Brian was saying. I think that everybody got heightened with this COVID-19, but I think a lot of people were upset with some of the things that were going on with the board long before this happened. So I just encourage people to vote, and I'm talking to you out there. I know a lot of you here probably do vote, but I encourage you to do your own research, look into each candidate, and just vote. Thank you.
Jennifer Zingmark. I apologize if I got that wrong.
You got it right. Thank you.
And Mark Ebert will be next.
I'm a mother of 4 children, 3 of which have graduated from Chapin High School and District 5 and have had wonderful experiences My youngest is an 8th grader at Chapin Middle School. And I want to thank you, Dr. Melton and school board, and I appreciate all that you guys are doing to advocate on behalf of our children. And I know it's not easy to make everyone happy. But I'm here to advocate for 5 days face-to-face for all students as soon as possible. I feel like November 9th for my daughter in 8th grade and up is way too long. And I do know that our teachers and our principals, thank you so much, all of you that are here, and everything that you're doing for our children. I know personally that the teachers I know are working 10, 12, 14-hour days on weekdays, working all weekend to try to keep up with this mixed hybrid model, and it is not working. My daughter has the advantage of having me at home with her full-time. She's taken high school courses, and it's not going. It's terrible, and she's academically gifted. She's taken geometry honors, and I'm there to help, and it's a disaster. And I am also the president of a women's organization in Chapin of 124 women who are mothers and grandmothers and teachers of children in the district, and many don't have the fortunate opportunity to be home with their children. Many children have older siblings looking after them, or they're left on their own. Middle schoolers specifically are isolated. They're already spending too much time online. They're withdrawn, they're struggling academically. My daughter personally has had her friends say that they were considering suicide because of this situation and the extreme isolation that they've felt since March. It's not good. It's not good for our students. I beg you to reconsider. I know there's a lot of time and thought that went into this plan, but I think our kids need 5 days face-to-face as soon as possible. November 8th would be great. I agree with the reports about the coronavirus and how it affects children the least. And I'm sad to say that in our district, we've had more deaths from suicide than COVID-19. This is a tragedy. I know we can do better. Please consider sending all children back to school 5 days as soon as possible. Also, it wasn't an option on the survey for parents to vote for 5 days. It was 4 or 5 days. I don't think we need a day of cleaning, and I don't think we need a virtual day. That's not helping anyone. And as of today, there are less than 5 children on the DHET website, 5 students that have coronavirus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Ebert and Tashia Addison.
My name is Mark Ebert. First of all, if you are a sitting school board member and don't know what happens on Wednesdays, you might want to get out of your bunker and talk to some of these parents. I'm up here, really I'm going to address our retired teacher over here. I have tried to be civil. I have voted for candidates to provide oversight to this board, and I will continue to try and be civil. But at this last meeting, a longtime member actually admitted there was a low standard to sit on this board. Indeed, your orchestrated assassination attempt of a certain independent board member was a disgrace. It reflected more on his accusers than the accused. You folks seem more interested in attacking a new member, trying to provide some oversight than the education crisis we now face. I expect we are here tonight, and this saga will continue in the second session. I imagine you will have experts lined up to refute his concerns. I'm sure his character will be attacked and his integrity questioned. I hope you folks are watching and see through this charade. For members of this board to question his integrity is laughable. He is the only member of this board giving up a nearly $10,000 salary that you folks gave yourselves to qualify for state retirement. I voted for him to provide the exact oversight that you all seem to fear so much and that you've heard other speakers reference earlier. He deserves better than a baseless attacks. If we want to discuss ethical concerns, I have a whole folder. I have a few for this board. Let's start with longtime members that have received thousands of dollars in campaign contributions from individuals that end up winning contracts with D5. Is it ethical to sell your seat to developers and to construction companies? Let's talk about vendors awarded bids without disclosing family relationships with key District 5 decision makers. Millions of dollars in bids seem to be steered to the same folks over and over again, and somehow we end up spending $32 million for a school that should cost no more than $24 million. $8 million will buy you one hell of a Purple Martin statue. Let's talk about $500,000 in attorney fees for District 5 all going to the same firm, a firm that privately represents members of this board. Is it ethical to cram kids into portables for years to justify new buildings instead of utilizing excess capacity within the district? These all seem like ethical concerns for both D5 and the firms in question. It almost makes you wonder why a successful businessman with 45 years of construction is such a threat and will be attacked again tonight. The public isn't interested or concerned about his ethics or the trumped-up accusations we'll hear tonight. His company was the lowest bid for subcontracting on a SLED project. I'm going to finish. On a SLED project.
Mr. Ebert, you're not going to finish.
I am.
Please, Mr. Ebert, 3 minutes.
Can I have 30 seconds?
No, sir. Tashia Addison. Tashia Addison.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the board members, the members who have been here for a number of years. I've been a part of this school district since Dr. Melton was at Nursery Road Elementary School. We appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you. Robert Gant, Jan Hammond, Ms. Hutchins, I don't know you, Mr. Cates, but thank you as well for what you do for Lexington Richland 5. You can't look at just Mr. White, I apologize, you've been around as well. When we talk about that one day and we talk about, I am happy with what my son Matthew Addison, who's in cohort, who does the hybrid that he does 2 days a week. When he does his academics on Wednesday, he is very vigilant. He gets to see his teachers, and it's excellent. Then he has his other classes on Thursday and Friday. Well, the way he does his classes with each one of his teachers is very effective. It's effective if we as parents also help the teachers. The teachers can't do it alone. The board members can't do it alone. So now it's saying to parents, you got to step up your game. You can't just expect teachers to do it. COVID-19 has made a lot of parents realize and say thank you to teachers, because now you got to do some things too to help. My son, who graduated from Irmo High School, finished Princeton, and now is at Columbia University Law School, they only do for $100,000 a year, 1 day a class, and the rest of them are online. So if it's good enough for Columbia, I think it might be good enough for us. Our board members are doing a fantastic job. You can find corruption anywhere. You can find corruption in your church if you look hard enough. You can find it anywhere. So instead of criticizing, let's join and say thank you for the hard work that each one of them do, from Mr. Lovelace to Mr. White, from Mr. Gant to Ms. Gardner. Each one of them brings something different to the table, but some of us as parents are happy with the November 9th, are happy with you phasing in. And before I close, one of the parents mentioned Anderson, South Carolina. I'm originally from Anderson, South Carolina. One of the parents at Hannah, where he talked about one, but they had to actually quarantine 17 of them. So I talked to parents. There are bus drivers who are quitting in Anderson because of that. So those are not facts that are data numbers. Those are facts from parents. So to the board members, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you, we love you, and all of you are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Minch. Jack Minch.
Sorry, I'm pretty tall. But yeah, I'd like to just reiterate on what the lady up here just said. And I like the board members to know that there are people who support what they're doing and think that they're doing a great job of taking this whole process slow and making sure the safety of the students is the #1 priority. Because for the people that come up here and talk about bravery, I think it's more foolhardy and reckless. Because I want to know how many of those people that are advocating for us to jump into the deep end and go back 5 days a week, how many of you have actually known someone that's had COVID, or have you had COVID personally? Because let me tell you, I have, and it sucks. So if you like laying in bed with a 103-degree fever and being out of commission for 2 weeks, and you want to send your students back to school with the risk of that happening, then by all means, let's go back 5 days a week. And also, as a student at the University of South Carolina, I had face-to-face classes in a lab. It lasted for about 2 weeks before more than 50% of the class was isolated or quarantined because of close contact. So if we do reopen 5 days a week, I just want you to know that we'll probably be shut down within the month. So thank you.
That concludes public participation.